Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. Our headline for the month was Real Estate Market Remains Stable in February. While this show is taped in March, we're reporting on the February numbers at the Registry of Deeds. So let's go to the numbers. The first image you're going to see is of deeds, which is sales of property. There were 539 deeds recorded in February, down from the 705 recorded in January, down 6% from the 572 last February. And so for the first 2 months of calendar year 18, we're down 1%. The next image you're going to see is of mortgages. Now, as we got through last year, we realized there were a lot of people, while still taking out mortgages to purchase their homes, there were less people refinancing. There were 1,166 mortgages recorded in February, less than the 1,503 in January, and down 7% from the 1,254 last February. So 2 months into the year, we're down 9%. The next image you're going to see is of foreclosure deeds. Since the crisis of 2008, we've followed foreclosures very closely. The numbers have been dropping off drastically, but still remain. There were 36 foreclosure deeds. A foreclosure deed is when a property was taken back by the lender, usually for non-payment. That was less than the 56 in January, 33% less than last February. The next image you're going to see is of foreclosure notices. A foreclosure notice is the first document we see at the registry that identifies someone in trouble. There were 87 foreclosure notices recorded in February, slightly more than the 85 in January, 24% less than last February, and for the first 4 months of the year, down 4%. The next image you're going to see is a listing of foreclosure deeds and notices for all 27 communities in Plymouth County. You can see just about every community has been affected. Clearly the numbers are dropping off. However, lenders are still clearing out their files. Our next training room program will be open to the public on April 12th. It's usually the first Thursday of the month, but it'll be April 12th from 9 o'clock. It's a hands-on training on how to efficiently search our records. Our records linked to the index is now back to 1842. We're on our way back to 1685, the founding of the county. If you go on our website, you'll see a property fraud alert. It's a free program. You can sign up with your email. Anything gets recorded on your property, you get an email sent from us. Beware of some deed scams out there when people will try to get you to pay more for copies of your deeds than you should. We continue to have the Rochester Historical Society in a display in our main entryway, and we're doing a homestead presentation out at the Hull Council on Aging on March 15th. I have a great guest in the next segment, Steve Damon, the new president of South Shore Realtors. We'll talk about who they are and their role in the real estate market. So I'll see you in the next segment.
If you smoked, this new lung cancer screening could save your life. Visit SaveByTheScan.org.
Welcome back to the Register's Report. Again, my name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, we've had appraisers, we've had a lot of realtors along the way, builders, people involved with the real estate market. Of course, Realtors are certainly one of our most valuable activities in the real estate market. They're out there every day working with people, helping them make their choices on selling or buying their home. And I have a great guest this show, Steve Damon. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, John.
Steve is the new president of South Shore Realtors, and it's quite a great organization, and I know you're already off to a great start.
It's been exciting. We had a lot of things going on at the beginning of this year, particularly with the South Shore Realtors. We put together a completely new website, did a complete rebranding. It used to be the Plymouth South Shore Board of Realtors. A lot of transitions, a lot of upgrades to make it more proficient for our members, the local realtor.
So why don't we go back a little bit and talk about what the organization is and what the value is for people across Plymouth County and realtors in particular.
The value is the amount of information that's available, particularly with our access to the National Association of Realtors, the Mass Association of Realtors, and our own database gives realtor members a vast amount of information that they can access as to what's going on in the market, what are the new trends in the market, where do we see the market going in the near future and 3-4 years down the road.
And it's the second largest realtor organization in Massachusetts.
Yes, right at 3,200 members at this point.
Great. And I always follow and admire how much training you do for your fellow realtors.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on. One of the big things that we tend to push is ethics. It's important that members of the association adhere to the National Association's Code of Ethics. It sets a bar above your regular real estate agent. Because you have to keep in mind that just because you have a real estate license, you're not a realtor. You need to belong to the National Association of Realtors, and you need to abide by the Code of Ethics.
Right. And that's a source of pride for realtors.
Yes, it really is. You figure that the Code of Ethics was established in 1913, so it's 104 years old now. It's like the Constitution. It's a living document that changes with the needs and what's going on in the business. I mean, 1913, they sure weren't thinking about cell phones and computers.
Right.
And electronic signatures on documents. All those things need to be addressed.
Yeah, the changes in technology has been incredible.
Yeah, when I first started in the business, the office I first started in didn't even have a fax machine. So my first cell phone was bolted in the back of my car. So that gives you an idea. It's the way it has changed. I mean, the cell phone I have now does more than the first computer I ever owned.
Yeah, matter of fact, I was at a Register of Deeds meeting yesterday, and we were talking about how the technology of government doesn't move quite as fast as the technology of private business. And in particular, we're looking in the near future to do searches from cell phones and tablets of our system, which would be something we're really looking forward to do in the not too distant future. And I know there'll be another advancement by the time we get there.
We're seeing that every day. RPR, which is a program that's put out, made available to all realtors through the National Association. You can put in an address, and the program will give you the plot plan for the lot. You could actually walk the lot and show your client where roughly where the property lines are, which is a great advantage.
So let's talk a little bit about your other hat, because in order to be a member of South Shore Realtors, you actually have to be a practicing realtor. And
Absolutely.
that is with Jack Conway?
Yeah, I've been with Well, I've been a realtor for 25 years. I've been with Jack Conway about that long. It's a great company. I've enjoyed working there tremendously. Jack was a great influence on the way I do business. I found Jack's integrity always above. Jack was one that always felt that you gave back to the community because we get a lot from it. Our business is derived from it, and you need to take and support local charities to support the local community.
He was quite a guy. He held a meeting of his executive staff at our building when it was first built, our building on Aubrey Street, and there was a Conway Day a couple of years later that he organized, and to give people tours, operational tours that we provided of our building, and just was a very fun-loving person.
Jack did have his fun side. There's no doubt about that. He always out front with everybody, and if you worked for Jack, you always had to be prepared to speak to the crowd. He'd invite you to a function, and he'd be up there doing a speech, and the next thing you knew, he's, come on up here, say a few words. Right. I mean, you always had to be prepared. You never knew when Jack was going to call on you.
Yeah, I remember some of those meetings. And I also, just an aside, is he was a sports writer prior to becoming a realtor.
Yeah, he covered the boxing scene.
Yeah, covered all of Rocky Marciano's title fights.
Pretty much, yeah. His dad was also a newspaper man.
Okay, I didn't realize that, yeah.
Yeah, so Jack finally decided that once he got married and I think he had 1 or 2 children at the time, decided that the newspaper salary wasn't enough to support a family on. It was 1956, and that's when he started the Jack Conway Company.
Oh, great. So I know realtors across the country have been very involved in some recent tax issues, the protection of the homeowner's interest deduction, and a number of issues that were in the tax code.
Oh, that was a big push, particularly on the national level. Mm-hmm. With over a million members, we've got one of the I guess you would say, most powerful lobbyists in D.C. And a lot of people don't realize being a realtor, being a member of the National Association of Realtors, we're looking after property rights, private property rights, homeowners' rights. And part of it this year was trying to save the tax deduction, which we did to a point. I mean, they put a limit on it, but it's still there. Mm-hmm. And it's important. I mean, it makes a difference in buying or not buying it lots of times.
And I know you in your organization have been very strong in promoting first-time home buyers.
Absolutely. The market right now, first-time home buyers are very important. 29% of on a national level, 29% of the sales that occurred over the last 3 months were first-time home buyers. That's down from 32% just prior to that. And to have a robust market, we need 40%. What I see happening is that first-time home buyers to a point are being priced out of the market. If you look back over the last 3 years, the median price of first-time home buyers, this would be on a national level, would be houses under $250,000, has jumped 44% in 3 years. So you figure a house that cost $200,000 three years ago is now $80,000 more. Right. Interest rates, in December, the interest rate was 4.23. This month, the interest rate's 4.38. And with the prices and the interest rates, we're making it tough for first-time home buyers. And if they're burdened with a high-interest student loan, that hurts them even more.
Yeah, there are definitely two sides of the coin when you come into housing values. For many people, if not most people, their home as an appreciating asset is great towards building personal wealth.
It's for a lot of people, I would say for probably most people,
Right.
The house is part of their retirement plan.
Right.
They're counting on either having that paid off and they don't have to worry about it, or they're planning on it being paid off, selling it, and buying something smaller.
Yeah, but I do agree the other side of that coin is, for first-time home buyers, that increasing value in homes that we've seen here in Plymouth County over the last few years has made it more difficult.
Definitely, it has. Plus, if you look at the inventory, it's hurting. The inventory right now, year over year, is down about 29% from where it was this time last year. And they're not really seeing any increases in the inventory. There's some new construction that's going on, but most of the new construction is geared toward second or third time home buyers. There's really no new construction for moderate to low income or first time home buyers.
Any thoughts on why people are seem more hesitant to list their property and look to sell?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the inventory.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got a house to sell, but you're also going to need a house to move to. Mm-hmm. Unless you're maybe in retirement age and you're getting ready to move to Florida or Arizona, you're looking at, well, if I sell my house, where am I going to live? And if your house is put on the market today, it's priced right, it's not going to be there in a week.
So let's talk a little bit about the spring market. Where we came in on a very cold day into the studio. We've had a really tough week this past week, and maybe some difficulties coming up very shortly.
Yeah, the weathermen are correct. We've got another nor'easter coming and maybe another one after that.
Right.
That's going to affect the market. The big thing in the market I see for the spring market is the lack of housing. And buyers are going to have to be prepared to move. They find a house that they like, a house they want to buy, they have to be prepared to move. You can't say, well, I'll go home and think about it for a couple of days, because more likely than not, that house is not going to be there.
And pre-qualification is extremely important.
Oh, absolutely. I think most buyers today understand that when they go out to start looking at houses, they need to be pre-qualified, pre-approved. Most agents will pretty much say, you know, if they aren't, they're going to make arrangements to have them go through that process, because they need to know exactly what they can afford.
Any quick, easy tips for sellers that are looking to list their property for this time of year?
Try to make the house as bright as possible. Clean is a big thing. Can't say too much about doing the yard work or anything this time of year. Coming spring, you want to be sure that the curb appeal is there.
Hopefully the snow is pretty much done.
That, or if you live along the coast, that the rocks are out in your front yard.
Right, that's for sure, yeah. Yeah.
But the big thing I feel is the house needs to be neat, the house needs to be clean. As far as staging, it's becoming more and more important as far as people coming into your house and feeling that they can move into it. So you'll hear the term, if you're listening to HDTV, you know, declutter. That's a big thing. And in some situations, it may be advantageous to have a professional stager come in and take a look.
So can you give our viewers your contact information of you personally with Jack Conway first?
Okay, well, Jack Conway, I work out of the Bridgewater office. The number there is 508-697-8300. If somebody wanted to get in touch with me, my cell phone number is 508-962-4255. You can also go to the Conway website, jackconway.com, and access myself or the office.
And if someone's looking for more information on South Shore Realtors?
South Shore Realtors, it's southshorerealtors.com, and their phone number is 781-826-5139.
Great. Well, as always, thank you for coming on the show, and always enjoy talking with you. Always get information that is valuable to me every time we talk. Thank you.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. I enjoy being here.
Great, thanks.
Truth is, I'm impressed. I haven't been asked such intelligent questions in a long time. Nice.
I want to thank Steve Damon for the great job he did in describing the role of South Shore Realtors, in addition to his full-time job as a realtor for Jack Conway. A lot of good information. It's a great organization for anyone that is in the business and would like to be a member. He gave that contact information. In this segment of the show, we always try to do something lighter in nature. We highlight some of the holidays of the month. March included the change to daylight savings time. It is St. Patrick's Day on the 17th. Spring begins on the 12th. Palm Sunday, the 25th. Good Friday, the 30th. And the start of Passover on the 31st. I always like to highlight some of our notable land record collection connected to the holidays of the month. And of course, St. Patrick's Day is the big holiday of the month. So you're going to see an image of a gentleman who ended up living in Hull, John Boyle O'Reilly, born in Ireland, got convicted for feeding tendencies while he was in the British Army. Feeding tendencies being siding with Ireland for its independence, was convicted to death, but was sentenced instead to a penal colony in Australia. He escaped, came to Boston, became the editor of The Pilot, the Catholic newspaper. He purchased a summer home in Hull, the Hunter State, and stayed there for many years. He was considered an important figure because of his activity and as a poet, was recognized by the Yankee citizenry, although not many Irish were at the time. He died in Hull on August 10th, 1890. There's a monument of him created by Daniel Chester French, who designed the Abraham Lincoln Monument in the Fenway section of Boston. And again, his summer home remains the Hull Public Library. The next image you're going to see is of another well-known Irish son of immigrants. Billy Gunner McGonigal was a baseball player, lived in Brockton, and he was the inventor of the catcher's mitt. Back in those days, they didn't use gloves to play baseball, so as a catcher, they were getting severe injuries catching the ball, broken fingers. He started using bricklayers' gloves, and that led to gloves generally, but most importantly, the catcher's mitt. He also was a great manager in his days after being hit by a pitch and unable to play anymore. And he managed 2 back-to-back championships for the Brooklyn Bridegrooms, who later became the Brooklyn Dodgers. The next one you're going to see is of Anna Buckley. Anna Buckley was a state senator, vice chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, did a lot of great things within her role as a Democratic leader, one of the first women elected to office, and was a real player at the State House. She had worked her way up by working for Auditor Thaddeus Butchko. Massasoit Community College named the Fine Arts Building after her, and she's certainly remembered, even though she passed away in May 2003. I want to thank the folks here at PAC TV for their help, David Antoine and Ben Alexander, for helping me put this show together and share this information about what for most people is their most valuable asset. We tell the story, we give the facts about the realtor opportunities. We share the numbers for the month so you know what's going on out there in the real estate community. We always try to do something a little lighter nature about our great Plymouth County history. So thanks again. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and I'll see you next month.